humble, scarce, small, rare. All these words can be summed up in one singular word: Paul. Originating from the Roman family name Paulus, which was Latin for small or humble, the name Paul has been prevalent throughout ancient history, especially in the Christian Church, seeing as it was the converted name of St. Paul the Apostle, whose original name was Saul of Tarsus, but was changed when he realized that Saul is just a worse version of Paul. Additionally, the name has been borne by many other saints, as well as 6 popes, and it is also the subject of the 2016 alternative indie folk rock song Paul by Big Thief off their debut album Masterpiece. Now, granted, Paul has been on a bit of a downturn in the United States in the past 55 years, but with that being said, Pauls are thriving in Germany. But whether it's up or it's down, it's left or it's right, or it's in or it's out, Paul is a name loved by all, and that is a fact, proven and not debatable. And with that, here are the few of the greatest Pauls of all time. Hello, friends, and welcome to the definitive list of the best Pauls of all time. Now, because Pauls are so diverse and they come from many different times and species and statures, I have split this presentation up into 3 categories. We have the animal ones, the human ones, and the tall ones. So, to begin, the animal ones. As the name of this first category would suggest, the first Paul we will be looking at today is not a human. He's not even a mammal. He's in fact a cephalopod. Paul the psychic octopus, hatched January 26, 2008, was a common octopus that found fame after correctly predicting the outcome of multiple soccer or football games during the 2010 World Cup. To form his prediction, Paul's owner would present him with 2 identical boxes filled with food. Each one would have the competing team's flag on it, and the box that Paul ate out of first was the box that he would predict would win. Of the 8 predictions Paul made for the 2010 World Cup, all 8 were correct, securing his place in the history of psychic octopods. He passed away in 2010 at the ripe age of 2.5. He died of natural causes, which is more than can be said for his Japanese counterpart, Rabio the psychic octopus, who was killed and eaten after he correctly predicted all of the outcomes of the 2018 World Cup. The next Paul on our list of Pauls is Paul the Three-Eyed Monkey, who was the mascot for DNA Productions. DNA Productions was a 3D animation studio who made some commercials and stuff for a while. But in 1998, they started a project that would go on to become one of the greatest cinematic masterpieces of all time, Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius. Their original mascot was a 2-tailed cat named Helix, but after realizing that both cats and the name Helix are inferior to monkeys and the name Paul, they introduced Paul the Monkey with the creation of Jimmy Neutron. Now, Jimmy Neutron aired in 2002 to 2006, and during this time, Paul blessed us at the end of each and every episode with his signature catchphrase, "Hi, I'm Paul." But then, with the creation of the film The Ant Bully, a movie that up until this point has been suppressed deep in my subconscious, DNA Productions closed their doors, and with it, Paul went with them, never to be seen again. Now we move on to the human Pauls. When I was a young boy, I wanted to be a paleontologist. Now, I was illiterate up until the age of 8, so I just called them bone scientists. But probably the greatest bone scientist of recorded human history, mainly because I don't know many others, and mostly because his name is Paul Sereno. Paul's a good old boy. Look at this picture. This picture was taken in 2010, and I just love every bit about it. The denim on denim, the simply horrible photo quality. Everything about this picture is just wonderful. And the man in it's wonderful too. Look at him, just chilling, just surrounded by bones. I don't know if you know this. I like bones. And I like Paul. He's calm. He's collected. If this man was in charge of Jurassic Park, it would have been a whole lot more fun and a whole lot less people dying. Now, at first glance, our next Paul looks like your everyday ventriloquist. But trust me, he is so much more than that. This is Paul Winchell. Born Paul Wilczynski in 1922, he had originally hoped to become a doctor, a hope that would be dashed by the Great Depression. But in this time, at the age of 13, he created his first ventriloquy dummy, Jerry Mahoney. Paul took little time finding fame. After entering Major Bow's Amateur Hour talent show and winning first prize, Paul became a professional ventriloquist at the age of 14. He would go on to host many shows with Jerry as well as a new character of his named Knucklehead Smith. And all of this is well and good, but I promised more than terrifying dummies. Now, see, Paul had more up his sleeve than his arm up a puppet. Along with ventriloquy, Paul was a voice actor, and over his 61 years of voice acting, he racked up quite a list of nostalgic roles with over 70 credited characters. Some of my personal favorites I will share now. Paul was the voice behind Crackle, the Rice Krispies mascot, the inquisitive Mr. Owl of the iconic Tootsie Pop commercials, Sam I Am of the Seuss on the Loose show, Gargamel and Baby Smurf from the Smurfs, Boomer the Woodpecker from Fox and the Hound, Fleagle from the Banana Split show because he still wasn't done with horrifying puppets, Tigger from Winnie the Pooh, for which he won an Oscar, and my personal favorites, the General, Private Meekly, Clyde, Softy, and Dick Dastardly from the Wacky Races. And in addition to all of this entertaining, he was also an acupuncturist, because apparently sticking things inside of puppets wasn't enough. And after many, many years of entertaining and acupuncturing, Paul retired in 1999 and passed away due to natural causes 6 years later in 2006 at the age of 82. And with that, we find ourselves at our final Paul category, the tall Pauls. Our final Paul is a bit of a mystery. Tall Paul, who was the subject of the 1958 rock and roll hit single Tall Paul, recorded by Annette Fusilo and written by the Sherman Brothers, which reached top 7 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1959 and marked the first time that a female singer reached a top 10 slot for a rock and roll single. Little is known about Tall Paul. He raises many questions. Good thing my one and only job is to answer questions, but that would mean I'd be answering 2 questions in one video, and I think I'd get in trouble for that. Granted, I mean, you came here to hear about the best Pauls of all time, not to get all of the answers about Tall Paul. So, I guess we will have to revisit Tall Paul at a later date. And on that thrilling cliffhanger, we end today's discussion. I hope you found some new appreciation for the name Paul. Not that you didn't already appreciate the name, because I think we can all agree that it is a great name, but it never hurts to be reminded. So, with that, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will talk to you relatively soon.